Hi, everyone. Welcome once again to Branco Broadcast. I am Bob Branco. This evening we have a gentleman who is an author. I am very familiar with him through the Project Starfish Writers Guild, and he's also written some other things. He has a blog, and he's written a book, and he's here to talk about it. The name of the book is Breaking It Down and Connecting the Dots. I know the title is longer than that, but it couldn't fit on the subject line. So Peter's going to explain everything about it, however. Hi, Peter. Peter Altchul, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi, Bob. Thanks for having me on your show, and welcome everybody who is involved both on the show when it's archived and on the phone. Some of you may remember me as the author of Breaking Barriers, Working and Loving While Blind, which was a memoir that came out 5 years ago. And it talked a lot about training to get my fifth guide dog and my sort of life as a musician and organization psychologist. And when I was doing the publicity of that book, my publicist said, "You need to start writing a blog." And I said, "Okay, that's fine. Any tips about what I should write about or what the blog should be?" And she said, "Write about whatever you want, but keep each entry under 750 words. If you write more than that, people won't read them, the blogs." And that was the best advice I ever got as far as publicity. So ever since 2012, probably March 2012, I've been blogging every week on whatever topic interested me. It could be sports, it could be music, it could be politics, it could be organization behavior, it could be diversity of some description, whatever got my interest. But I always kept the blog post to 750 words or less, and often less than 700 words. So after 5 years of writing these blogs, I thought, okay, it's time to write another book, but I didn't quite know what I wanted to do with the other book. But I had these great blogs that had gotten lots of reactions, and some positive, some negative, lots of nice comments, and I thought maybe I should take the best of these blogs and put it in and make it the basis for my new book. And so I sort of started looking at my blogs and trying to figure out how best to make it work as a book. And I knew I didn't want to do it chronologically. That didn't seem to make a whole lot of sense to me. So I started weeding out the bad from the good and trying to figure out, okay, how will this make sense to the reader? And I decided to put the blogs into categories. So they were all part of the same category. So it ended up being 9 sections. So each section consists of 7 or 8 blogs, and the sections are, of course, on different topics. So as I was, and I'll talk about those topics in a second, but as I was trying to think through the structure of the book, I, of course, had to figure out a title. And in order to do that, I had to figure out, well, what's this book really about? Well, what the blogs really are about are thinking through an issue and breaking it down, and then reconnecting the dots in a different way. So that was sort of the first title. And my original subtitle was A Book of Concise Essays. And when my publisher got a hold of it, they said, "Hey, wait a minute, this second part doesn't say enough about what the book's about. So why don't you give us a better subtitle that better fits within the theme of the book?" And I thought about it for a while. What I realized is each blog, almost every blog, in one way or another, has to do with creating common ground. The idea of how can we best live together, whether it's in the workplace or at home or dealing with diversity issues or dealing with politics. How can we best work together, or in church for that matter, in faith communities? How can we best work to find that common ground that society seems to be encouraging us not to do? So that's where the subtitle came in, which is Creating Common Ground Where Contention Rules. So the entire title is Breaking It Down and Connecting the Dots, Creating Common Ground Where Contention Rules. And so then the other thing the publisher asked me to do is to say, okay, if you were to summarize the book in 7 words, what would it be? So I didn't know what to say, and I sort of thought about it, and I came up with this sort of bizarre concept, which the publisher loved, which is where chicken soup for the soul and political insanity merge. So where Chicken Soup for the Soul and political insanity merge. And that's really what this book does. There's a lot of, for those of you who have read the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, there's a lot of sort of wisdom in these posts about how you can, deal with those conflicts and deal with better relationships, and there's a lot of that stuff. But there's also this sort of weird political stuff that's been going on that I've been writing about on and off for the past 4 or 5 years, especially during the 2016 presidential campaign. I wrote a lot about the election and what I thought that was about, and the first 50 days of President Trump's administration and what I thought that was about. So that's the book in theory, and in the book I sort of take my professional background, working with a variety of different groups to get them to work together more effectively, including New York City taxi drivers, including pro-lifer and pro-choice activists, including various organizations helping them develop diversity initiatives. And then, so that was one major piece. So the book is, again, part memoir, and also articles that I read on the course of the work that I do. So, and I mine articles from both sides of the political spectrum, from progressive sites and from conservative sites. And you'll see when you read the book that there are books on, there are articles based on articles from both the left and the right, if you will. So the various sections of the book, part one deals with influencing, and primarily deals with me as a step-parent and as a wife. I got married in 2007 and came into the life of 3 stepkids. And so there's a lot of thinking about how I interact with those stepkids and try to be a decent stepdad to them. And that was a major challenge for me because I didn't have kids of my own at the time. And so I, at that time, an 8-year-old and a 9-year-old and a 16-year-old. And that was a real challenge. And so I write a little bit about that. The second part deals with workplace issues. And again, how do you deal with workplace challenges, conflicts that relate, primarily deal with conflicts related to diversity and conflicts related to leadership. What is leadership anyway? There's a lot of confusion about what leadership is and is not. So that's the second part. The third deals with the connections between disability and other isms, disability in race, disability in gender, disability in LGBTQ, lesbian, gay stuff. And that's the third section. The fourth deals with music. I'm a musician. I sing. I play drums in the church praise band. I compose, and so there's a lot of stuff about that. There's a section on my work, if you will, as a sports fan. I follow a lot of sports and been to sports games and football games and baseball games, and I have a stepson who is currently playing college football in a Division II school on a scholarship, and that's been an interesting experience for me, trying to support him in his football glory in high school, primarily. So that's sports. And then I write about the so-called rhetorical rabbit holes, those rabbit holes we fall into, both good and bad, when we're trying to have conversations about those difficult topics. And a lot of the talking heads who we listen to it discourage us from finding that common ground in a number of ways, and I talk about that. I also talk about some of the hot-button issues that we are running into these days, primarily abortion and the whole police African-American thing, which we're connected to as well. Disability is also related to that, and things like that. And then the last section deals with the whole issue of Christians and Christianity, sort of talking about my sort of walk as a Christian, perhaps not the best Christian sometimes, but about my connection with churches and some of the Christian broadcasting that I hear, a lot of which I don't particularly care for. And the last article in that section deals with peace, the whole thing about peace unto you or peace on earth, but we don't have a clear sense, I don't think, of what peace is. So I take a stab at what peace might be and what it isn't. And that's the last section, that's the last article of the entire book. And, of course, that's peace on earth, goodwill toward men is the whole Christmas theme, and so that ends with Merry Christmas. So that's the book as a whole. It came out in, I think, October. I've done quite a bit of interviewing, and I have other things scheduled. I am hoping to get some speaking engagements out of the book. I've been working with Patty Fletcher. Those of you who may know her, she's been helping a lot getting my act together and motivating me to get stuff done, and she's been helping me with some of the publicity stuff. And so I'm grateful to her. And that's the book as a whole. And I'm happy to say a few more words, but if there are questions, I'm happy to take them.
Yeah, I had a thought. I'm an author. I think that you've done a lot of work on this book. I just get the standpoint of, like you said, you have psychology background, to the point, like you said, Patty Fletcher motivated you, and I do the blog stuff, I do the Facebook, all of the stuff, and it's like, it feels like, I mean, I'm writing my second book, but sometimes it's so discouraging that it's like, why am I doing this? Nothing. I'm hardly selling books. I've done radio interview. I've been at the library, but sometimes you just get so discouraged, and I just feel like everyone's selling more books than I am. That it's like it's just such a struggle. There's so many books out there. So do you have any thoughts on that?
I don't have any thoughts on it except to say I have the same feelings. And being an indie published author, which is what I am and what most of us are, is a real struggle. For me, I write because I have an idea I want to get out there into the world.
Yeah.
And that's why I write. And then, I post them, and, I'll get reactions, which is cool. I put them primarily on Twitter, and occasionally I'll get reactions. And the way I view this whole book thing is, obviously I would love to sell lots and lots of copies, and that would be great. But what I'm aiming for more than that is I want this book to be my business card. So I want to use it to create speaking engagements, and that's what I'm working on now. I also want to see if I can re-up my consulting stuff that I was doing on the East Coast before coming out here. And for a variety of reasons, it hasn't worked out here, partly because Columbia is very different from the East Coast, and partly Columbia, Missouri is different from the East Coast, and partly because my wife's gone through a lot of medical difficulties that it's made it harder for me to continue my professional life.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So that's
Patty,
all.
Patty Fletcher's helped you out a lot. You said for publicity and that, because I've heard that she does. I could try it, right? Have your sales really increased, like with the blog and all that? Do you think it was really helped your sales? Because I'm not seeing any results. I do diverse posts. I put humor. Sometimes I put politics. Like you're saying, it's mixed up, but you get people that like it mostly, or they don't say it. But I haven't really. I mean, I had 1,000 Twitter followers, and it's like, I don't get one sale from all that.
For me, I get lots of. I mean, when the nice thing about having, some followers and people who read my blogs regularly is when the book came out. A lot of people at least said they bought the book. I haven't gotten any reports from my publisher yet about, how.
Well, that's it. Ever since they say I'm going to buy it right away, and they don't.
Yeah. Well, I know some have because I've gotten comments from local people who I've worked with, and so I know people have, and I know that because people will ask me a question about the book, and I know that various media outlets have looked at it, and because they're asking me questions related to the book.
That's good.
I know it's getting out there. Do I wish I was getting more? Yeah, you bet. And for me, part of the issue has been trying to figure out what is my niche. Who am I trying to reach out to? And my niche is not even especially, I mean, obviously I hope people with disabilities read the book and blind folks read the book, but it's really meant for a broader audience than that. And that's the market I'm more or less trying to reach out to. And in large part because there's so many good people writing about disability. And so I just feel sort of unneeded in that particular arena, so I'm trying to do something else.
But you have a variety of topics. I mean, because my book is more genre, strictly sci-fi, but I sell it as different angles because there's disability in there and there's semi-autobiographical. But it's like you kind of want to widen your audience. Say give it a try, have an open mind, And and I think. I've gotten some nice, and again, I wish I had more copies sold, but at least I'm getting some nice feedback from people who I never expected to get feedback from. Now, you're on Amazon?
I am on Amazon, and I am on It is available on Kindle, and it is available as an EPUB, and it is available as an ePDF. So those are the three versions that it's available.
So I'm assuming if the Amazon, the Kindle, I would assume text-to-speech enabled.
Yes. I haven't tried it personally, but
right.
it is supposed to be accessible, and you can get it through Amazon. You can also get it through my publisher, which is iUniverse.com. And then the word universe.
Oh, really?
And
okay, thanks.
If you go there and do a search for Peter Altchul, actually the easiest way to get to it is to go to peteraltchul.com, and there there are links to how you can order both books, but especially the second one, which is the Breaking It Down and Connecting the Dots.
Now, how are you spelling your last name?
That's A-L-T as in Tom, S-C-H-U-L, peteraltchul.com. All one word, no capitals or anything like that. And if you go to that site, there's a link to my blog feed. I still blog every week. This week I blogged about the abortion issue, about what would happen if Roe v. Wade was overturned.
Oh, yeah.
Since the anniversary took place last week.
Oh, yeah.
I write a little bit about that. And I still write about whatever interests me. I think next week I'm going to take a crack at the guide dog Delta thing.
Oh, yeah.
That's a controversial topic these days.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm going to take a run at that next week. Or I might not. I might write something else.
Yeah. Thanks.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Jay.
Peter, thank you, Bob. Peter, I enjoyed your presentation. I have a comment to make, and also I'm going to ask you a question. Speaking about Amazon, there are those of us who have a book on Amazon, and obviously people order on Amazon. At the end, you get, whatever they send it to you. Quite often, I find out that, I sold a lot of books, but at the end of the month, all of a sudden, I get a, receipt for 2 books. They obviously send money to your account. A friend of mine was asking me, and she was saying, how do you know how many Amazon sold, and how can you find out, if they really pay you back, because you have no way of knowing. Like there are a few times people that I know, they really did bought my book, because even they commented on it and they posted, but months went by, I didn't receive anything. Not that it matters, only $2-3 you get. Yeah. But I'm just wondering, how do they do it? That's one. The other question is, you mentioned that you are a psychologist musician. Can you tell me a little bit about that, what that means?
Yeah, let me address the first question first, because I have the same struggle as you do. I work through iUniverse, and they collect all my sales and send me a quarterly statement and directly deposit my money and all of that. And I wonder the same thing that you do. I mean, my basic reaction to all of this is, as I said before, obviously I like to get paid for every book I sell. I mean, that's a given, but I don't know how. People have complained about my publisher, iUniverse, doing the same thing, not giving credit for all the books that you sold, and I don't know what to do about it. It's kind of frustrating. But my goal, for example, one of the things that I'm doing is I ordered a bunch of books to sell softcover books, and one of the things that I'm doing is connecting with a nonprofit in Colombia. What I'm saying is I will sell, for every book, signed copy book that I sell in regards to your organization, I will kick back $5 per book to the organization. And that's been great for me and great for the organization.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good idea.
And that seems to have had some success, and we're going to continue doing that at least through the spring of this year. So let me, but it is very frustrating, and so, but the way you make your money selling books is selling those soft-cover books, trying to find ways of getting those sold, through any way you can. And that, the best way I've been able to do this is working through nonprofits that I'm associated with and saying, hey, if you help me sell the book, I'll give you some money, basically. And
that's good.
And I'm also hoping when I start doing some speaking that I'll be able to sell some books that way as well. And just as a reminder, I'm sort of hoping that I'm not so much interested in selling books, although I'd like to. I'm more interested in getting known as a speaker/consultant. And to begin addressing your second question, my organization's psychology skills back in the game. So let me give you a sense of what I've done as an organization. I mean, as a musician, we all know what musicians are, and in my case, it from my primary instrument is as a percussionist drummer, and so for now I'm playing drums in the church praise band, and it's been great because I haven't played drums seriously since I was in graduate school a while back. I'm also a composer, and I also sing in a number of choirs, and so that, I'm doing music in.
Do you put your videos on YouTube?
I have one. No, I don't. But I do have one thing on YouTube, which is a terrible recording. One of my pieces was done in Brazil, and for some reason, whoever recorded it decided to cut out like 5 seconds of the piece. For reasons I don't understand, but it is on YouTube. But if you go to my website, there's a bunch of my stuff on my website. If you go to peteraltchul.com, and there's a link that says book-related information. And if you go to that link, you will see a bunch of my written stuff, and also my stuff as a musician. You see a bunch of my stuff, so you're welcome to check that out.
So do you have someone hosting it, like a web developer and all that, hosting your site?
Yes. iUniverse, as part of my work with them, helps me deal with the site. So I update it once in a while. Most of my action is taking place through my blog. I mean, most of the and my Twitter feed. I mean, those are the two things I spend most of my time doing. I love Twitter. I like Twitter much more than Facebook, actually.
I think it's good for marketing.
It's good for marketing, but also I like the sort of the discipline that you have to keep your comments short and
oh yeah,
I like that a lot. As an organization psychologist, let me just give you a brief sense of the work I've done, so you get a feel for. I've managed 2 federal grants that involve linking, in one case, employers and universities to improve the way college students with abilities are recruited for jobs. I worked with issues related to assistive technology in the New York City school, in the New York State school system. I worked on abortion, getting pro-life and pro-choice people to work together when they could. I've worked with incorporation on issues related to diversity with a couple of large organizations. I have done a lot of consulting work in those arenas. I train New York City taxi drivers in customer service skills. These are all things that are involved, helping people and or groups to get better at what they do and to work together across those boundaries to do something, productive. And that really is what organization psychologists do in one way or another. And that's the work I've done.
What's your educational background?
I have a master's in it's actually it comes from a social work school, but it's a specialty in workplace issues. And so I did the traditional social work, but I also took if you will, a specialization. And so I took many of the courses that a organization psychologist would take. And my so even though I have a social work degree, I don't do very much traditional social work. It's one of the weird. And I'm delighted. I think it's been really what I've always wanted to do. But I don't do a lot of clinical work, and that's important work, and I really admire those who do it. But it ain't for me. I also have a degree in music.
Thank you. Sound like you are pretty much blended with the psychology, with the music, which both of them sound like you enjoy doing it. And thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Did we lose him?
Is anybody
still there?
on the line?
Anybody else?
Yeah, that's it. We have a lapse.
Oh.
Anybody else? Alice?
Yes, I'm here. This is Karen. I came in late.
You have a question for Peter Altchul?
Well, I have a comment. Peter, I'm glad to, I want to congratulate you on your book. And is it available in any other formats, such as CD or anything like that?
It's available in in Kindle and in EPUB and in ePDF. For those of you who have, who have those things, it is as far as I know, it is being recorded.
Okay.
Library of Congress. It's
really?
Yep. Yeah. It's supposed to be recorded by the Wolfner Library, which is the Missouri Library for the Blind.
No, I had a side thought on that. I had a side thought on that because somebody was telling me, actually my publisher, they were like, why would you're putting it on NLS, but you're not going to get paid for it? I said, well, a lot of times people actually will read it and recommend it to other people, so you might get.
And then they'll say, oh, they'll buy it. Like it enough.
Yeah. And again, obviously I like people to buy the book.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's more important to me that, and this may sound a bit romantic, but it's more important to me that folks, read the book and, try to, grapple with the ideas I write.
Yeah, yeah.
And especially since I'm really trying to, I'm really viewing this book more as a so-called business card than I am, selling millions of copies, because that has.
Well, that's an interesting way to look at it. I never thought of that before.
Yeah. Most people don't sell millions of books.
No, I know.
I'll be the one who do it, but I'm not holding my breath.
No, don't do that.
So
don't worry about that.
But people do leverage these books in the speaking engagements, and in my case, since I have this organization psychology background, I can figure out a way of getting my career back. Now that my life is sort of turning the corner with the medical problems, I might be able to start getting back out there again a little more. So. That's what I'm hoping.
Right.
You said you on Bard, Peter.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Is your book on Bard?
It is not yet, but it's being recorded. I'm hoping it'll be out sometime mid to late spring, is what I've been told.
Oh, at least they told you. They just said your book will be ready when it's ready.
Yeah, well, I mean, I haven't talked to the Wolfner folks since last year. I probably owed them a phone call.
Takes time,
but I think that's what they're shooting at. They're pretty good. I mean, I know the person who's in charge of the recording. Also,
have you heard your reader yet?
No, I don't. Mike, what's his name? Fox read my first one, Breaking Barriers, and I haven't actually heard the recording, but it's. People thought he did a great job with it.
Well, that's good.
For those who read my first book, you can download it off. That is on Bard, and you can download it and read it. Learning Ally is also recording it.
Wow.
So
that's a good organization. That's a really good one. I remember.
Yeah, no, it's a very good organization, and so they're recording it. I don't know when they're going to get it done, but they are. I just got a note from them that they're going to record it. So.
So your first book is on Bard.
Library. The first book is on Bard, also on Bookshare, and also on Learning Ally.
The Perkins Braille and Talking Book Library also records books.
Mm-hmm.
Who does what? I'm sorry?
Those are very good.
Those are the local library, yeah. They do their own recordings of local authors.
The library at the Perkins School, they record books also.
They do indeed, and but I'm, actually one of the weirdest thing that happened to me with regards to my first book was I was working with the Missouri Library. They had agreed to record the first book, and I was working with the library to make it happen. And just as the book they finished recording the book, I got a note from one of my friends, Don Horn, who sent me a Facebook note saying, "Congratulations, Peter! Your book is now one of the hottest-selling downloads on Bard of blind authors." And nobody told me the book was being recorded. And the Missouri folks at the library were very miffed. I don't blame them. But it wasn't my fault. Nobody told me that my book was being recorded, and I still don't know how they got a hold of it because I didn't.
That is unusual.
I didn't make the effort to
I've heard that story before with other authors. It's like somebody must have sent them. Yeah. And
so this time I said to the library, look, I really want you to do this, and so do what you need to do to make sure that nobody else records it. I have no idea how it happened.
Yeah.
I really don't. It's one of the mysteries of authordom and blind.
Those are mysteries we like.
Yeah, exactly. Except that I felt badly for the Missouri library. They spent all this time.
It was a local author, yeah.
Yeah. So that was unfortunate, but I'm hoping this will work out better this time.
Yeah.
Peter, this is Alice Massa. Congratulations on your book, and I'd like to ask if your blog is on WordPress or another platform.
It's on WordPress.
I love WordPress.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've had a blog on WordPress since January of 13, and I also blog once a week. And
that's what I should do. I got to get back into that.
If you periodically find these little glitches or problems that arise with WordPress, for example, just this past week, I have had difficulty with approving a comment from a person who has not previously posted on my blog, and most of the time everything goes smoothly, but once in a while a little situation comes up. And do you have those sorts of things, or do you just go along smoothly with WordPress?
No, I have the same problems you do, and not very often. Well, for a while I was blocked off of my dashboard for quite a while, and that turned out to be the fault of my publisher. And so we had to work with them to straighten that problem out. And but basically things work pretty smoothly. What the problem I've had is people complaining they can't get on the links that I send don't work, or they can't get on the site, and that I find more disturbing. Some people say it's inaccessible. But then most people say it is. It's fine. So it's one of those weird things that I don't have a really good answer for. What I often do, if people say to me, "Hey, I couldn't get on this site," I just cut and paste the blog entry into a document, and just send it to them. It takes me 30 seconds, and that way they can, that way they're keeping the customer happy and all of that. But because I want people to read what I write, that's the whole idea, right? You write for an audience. Yeah. So, but most of the time it works fine, and it's reasonably accessible. And so that's, WordPress seems to be the thing that a lot of people use.
Okay, anyone else? Anybody else?
Marcy, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I was going to ask a question, but Karen cut me off before. And
I didn't realize that.
Go ahead.
So I forgot what it is, so I have to think about it.
All right, no problem. Well, Peter, as I was saying at the outset, I remember you from the Writers Guild over at the Project Starfish, which I'm not sure if they still exist or not, frankly. But that's where I got to know you and got to know your blog. You send stuff out. I am on your mailing list. I get your material, your blog material, and I thank you for sending it out. Could you tell us how to get your book?
Yeah, sure. The easiest way is to go on to peteraltchul.com, Peter, ALT as in Tom, SCHUL.com. And if you go there, you'll see more information about me and the book than you ever want to see. But there is a spot where it says, to buy the book. Click here, and you can click on the book, and it should be fairly straightforward to buy the book. The one thing I will say for those of you who use at least JAWS, one of the annoying things about the site is what it will say on the top of the screen is breaking barriers. Just ignore it and just down through the page, and you will, it has sections on both my books. So the H, for those of you who use JAWS, the H command works really well.
Yeah.
And you can find it quite easily using that approach. And that's also the way to get my Twitter feed and my.
Now, how much is your book? Are your books?
The books are $13.95 in soft cover, and as far as the ebooks, I think they are either I think they're $2.95 or $3.95. It's one of the two. I have to go back and look, but the soft cover is $13.95.
Now, your publisher, when you how did they work with you as far as, was it on consignment? I mean, I know you said you're indie author, like I guess we've got a few here tonight. So.
Yeah, basically I order books from them, I mean, well, as far as the soft cover, I ordered, books from their thing, and they sent them in the mail, and you plug in 50 pounds worth of books and put them somewhere and get rid of them over time. I mean, that's really
right.
I purchased 100 books, and if I get rid of those, I'll order some more. That's sort of the way I look at it. And I think, as I said, if the speaking engagements become more consistent, I think that's really where you sell your books. So that's really what I'm hoping.
Now, you said you had a publicist?
I did for my first book.
Oh, you did for your first book?
I did for my first book. And she was wonderful. I mean, she was the one who told me about blogging and how to... I mean, the thing about blogs that I find really annoying, and I know people say the same thing, is that most of the blogs are just too long. And
that's a good point.
Real long. Yeah. And so that was really the best advice that she gave me, was keep the blog short and to the point, so people can read over a 1.5 or 2 minute thing and move on with their lives. She also was the one who got me started on promoting on Twitter and promoting on Facebook. Although my Facebook thing is screwed up and I can't figure out how to fix it, but that's another conversation. But Twitter is great, and she helped me set up a number of things, and she really was terrific. So I'm really grateful.
Was Publicist part of the iUniverse package, or was that separate?
It's separate, and let me say a word about iUniverse for those who are considering, and I'm going to say something that's going to sound very heretical to you guys. Don't use iUniverse. The only reason I used iUniverse is because the president of iUniverse at the time was he and I went to the same school.
Oh.
I got a 60% discount as a result.
Oh, okay. That's always
good. If you were to use the full price, you wouldn't be able to afford it. But that's why people like Dworkin are so helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I would I almost used them for my second book, but I didn't, because they got undercut by iUniverse. Actually, I mean, I was ready to use them, and then I got a call from them saying, "Oh, we just got this sale. We can do it for 10% cheaper." And I said, "Great."
So who's your second book? Who did your second book?
iUniverse.
Oh, they did. Oh, okay.
But and they were great. I mean, there are lots of good things about them. I mean, they provide really good editorial support. I got, when I sent my first draft in for both books, I got a whole lot of really, really good feedback, which I think really strengthened both books. So I'm really grateful for them, for doing all of that stuff. And they were really supportive. That there were pictures I wanted in both books, and sort of giving people directions how to put insert pictures is sort of a challenge as a blind person.
Mm-hmm.
But it all worked out fine. They couldn't have been more supportive, but they charge a lot. And for those people who, I wish they didn't charge, because they provide great service. But for folks like us who don't have a lot of money, who don't have the connections that I was fortunate to have, go elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry about that.
Can you describe the cover of your book for us, please, and also mention a little bit about your back cover?
The cover of the picture on the cover of Breaking It Down and Connecting the Dots is a picture of me sitting in a chair on the deck of my house at sunset, with my guide dog Keith at my feet, with me typing on my Apex.
Oh, so that must have been. So did someone help you with you obviously need help with book covers when we're blind. I mean, that sounds like a great idea,
Well, actually, it's funny, because I was talking with the folks at Vorkin, and she said to me, this was at the time when I was going to use her, and she said, this would be a great cover, and she made the suggestion. I thought, wow, it's a great idea. So even when I was using iUniverse, I took her advice, and so I'm grateful for that. And my stepdaughter took the picture, and people seem to think it's a really good.
What kind of camera did she use?
iPhone.
Hey, that's how I took the picture on my book, on my profile. People love it.
High enough quality.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Apparently, it's quite good. I mean, people like everybody says it's a great picture. So I can't see it. But, I got people who saw it said it's a really good picture. Yeah. So I believe them. The back cover
Do you know what
picture, but it has.
The picture is on your cover?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Do you know what size the picture is on your cover?
I don't. Good question. I don't know the answer to it. But I think it takes
that's
up most
a key
of it.
factor with an iPhone photo.
Well, you can you can Photoshop and you can do all kinds of things with those pictures.
Yep.
And I don't know what the publisher did with
the Dvorkins are very good with the pictures because I was taking my own picture and she said this isn't professional, so I got somebody to take not even a professional, like you said, somebody I knew, and it's like that's perfect.
Yeah.
They're good with that.
The Universe folks thought,
absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm not the one to make judgments about pictures, so I judgment.
It seems all right,
people
but
seem to like the picture, so
That's good. Yeah.
So I don't know what else to say beyond that. The back cover does not have a picture. My first book did, but the second, this one does not. And what it really is sort of the dust jacket stuff, and so it has my bio and it has actually, I'm trying to remember what it has. It has the sort of back cover, sort of summarizing with books.
Probably a synopsis, I would assume.
What's that? I'm sorry?
Probably a synopsis, I would assume.
Yeah, it has a synopsis. It's a dust jacket, if you will. And then at the bottom it has my bio.
Right.
Which you've already heard about. So there's nothing, nothing new that I haven't said on at least I don't think there is. That's not I haven't already said. So that's what the cover is.
So iUniverse does all the cover design and stuff?
Well, I
you did a full package. You get what's that?
I sent them the picture. I said, "This is this picture I want in the front cover," and they said, "Great."
Okay.
That was the last I heard about it. Except the cover came out. People liked it. So
yeah.
Well, the answer is yes.
So they basically do all the same stuff that the Dvorkins did, but you pay more money.
You pay more money. Yeah. Well,
right.
I will. It may be, and this may be unfair because I don't know. I haven't worked with Dvorkins on editing. All I can say is that their editing at iUniverse is very, very, very good.
Huh.
They're really, really good editors, and I'm sure Dvorkins are as well.
Yeah.
But,
we have exactly 1, 2, 3, 4 people on the line right now, Peter, as we speak, that have the Dvorkins.
Okay. Well, they know better than I do, but one thing I do love about iUniverse, they do a really good job with the editing, and I'm sure the Dvorkins do as well. I haven't had a chance to work with them.
Right.
Okay, well, Marcy, have you thought of your question yet?
Yeah, I guess the best way I can ask my question is, it's not the original question, is with all the things you listed in your listed of what you do you combine everything together when you write?
In the book?
Yeah, or in general, and when you blog.
Oh yes, is the answer to your question. I mean, I don't combine everything in one blog, but this most recent blog, for example, I wrote about the abortion issue and took as a basis for it is my work on the abortion issue 20 years ago, and so that informed my thoughts on the whole issue of what would happen if Roe v. Wade was overturned.
Yeah. So
yeah. And if you if you go through my blogs, I mean, some of it is satire and some of it is
good.
Whatever. But a good deal of it is based on my experience working with people and working with groups, and using that as a basis for commenting on whatever it is I want to comment on.
Yeah. I know you said you do balance from both sides, which I think is great. But do you ever kind of insert your opinion at some point? I'm sure you must. Yeah, good.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not all my blogs, but there are certain things that if you read my blogs, you'll know about me. I don't run from my views, but I do try to. There's an article in that book about President Trump, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I am not a President Trump fan. I think.
Well, that's good. I don't think
he's a very.
I wouldn't have thought so.
Yeah, he's not a very. I don't think he's a very good human being. But I wrote the blog from the perspective, supposing it turned out that he had a disability, supposing because some of his symptoms imply a learning disability.
Yeah.
And supposing that were the case,
I agree.
What's that?
I agree with you.
Yeah. So then the question would become, what accommodation? There was at the time there was a lot of leaking coming from the White House about, what a terrible person he was to work for.
Yeah.
And my basic question is, why did you, your job as the people who work for him is to figure out how he works best.
Yeah. I have a question for you because I know you've done a lot of organization. What do you think about having the President of the United States taking some kind of civil service exam or even a psychological? Because that's an important job.
I'm going to put on my social work hat for a second.
Oh, good.
Good. Okay.
And I don't civil service, absolutely not. I mean, I think we have to trust the country to make a wise choice. I don't think we did in the last election.
Well, yeah.
But that's my opinion, and it's only an opinion.
Right.
As far as the psychological test, it isn't even clear to me, based on his most recent physical exam, that he has a psychiatric disability at this point. The doctor says he's okay. He just made a terrible human being. There are terrible human beings out there who don't have psychiatric problems.
But he wasn't really given a psychiatric test. He was given a cognitive test. You could have mental issues and still be very cognitively.
That's absolutely true. But there's no way for us to. I mean, one of the things I find, and this may be another blog topic for me, one of the things I find really irritating about the social work community and the psychiatric community is they are sort of trying to market the fact that Trump has a psychiatric disability to an audience who don't trust them.
Yeah, well, that's the whole issue.
And when we are required to notify people of danger, it doesn't mean we have to notify the entire universe. If these folks are really serious, I think they should contact the people in Congress and work with them behind the scenes, or get stuff done behind the scenes. The idea of sort of expressing their views to a wider public, I just think is bad psychiatry, personally. Even though it may be true, he may have a psychiatric disability of some kind. I will say one more thing about it, which is a sort of, I think, a funny story. I was talking to when during the Affordable Care Act thing, when a lot of disabled folks were arrested.
Yes, I remember that.
I talked to one of them at a conference recently, and I sort of floated the theory by him that President Trump might have a disability. His comment, I thought, was very real and human. It was, I hope he doesn't. Meaning, I don't want to have to represent him as a disabled person. There's just some people who are just lousy human beings.
Well, I was saying that last week. I said if he really is not mentally ill, then he's an a-hole.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it's people, part of the things that groups do, which is very human, is if they're not nice people, we try to exclude them from the group and pretend they're not part of the group, which of course you can't do.
Yeah, I know.
And this happens in every group.
Yeah.
Fill in the blank. Oh, he's not really one of us. This is one of the things that conservative Christians are very good at. Oh, he doesn't. They don't believe. They don't believe like we do. Therefore, he's not really a Christian, or she. There's a lot of that goes on in Christian media, and it goes on in the blindness community. It goes on in the African American community. It goes on in every group. Yep. And that's
like the ACB-NFB debate. It's like, let's get along. Let's get along. Try.
So stupid. I mean, it's just, it sounds so foolish to the outside. If we say this person isn't blind enough, or this person isn't black enough.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's so foolish to the outside.
We're all human beings, Peter.
Yeah, that's right.
They have a starting age for where the president can to vote, to be voted in.
35.
It's 35.
Yeah, it is.
And Trump is
35. Yeah, it's 35. But shouldn't there be a cutoff age? I mean, he's like our oldest president.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure some of us know people who are 70, 71 years old. I mean, my dad was emotionally sharp until he was 82 years old. And there are lots of people like. I mean, when I was in college, I sort of walked into the 50th anniversary reunion party for people who graduated, 50 years before I did.
Wow.
And it was the coolest group of all the reunions I snuck into. Just really cool people, just doing just as drunk as the rest of us, but we're saying interesting things. It was just a great group of people to be around. So, I think the issue with our current president is not his age; it's his character.
Yeah.
And that's really what, for me, the issue is. And now, might he have a psychiatric disability? Yeah, it's possible. But then remember, if he were to be diagnosed, then the question becomes, the accommodations issue. And of course, there's a reasonable. I'm sorry, what am I looking for? Undue hardship and all of that, and all that. But if you're going to say he's a disability, then the next question becomes, if you really are an ADA supporter, then the question is, what about the accommodations piece? And that doesn't mean to say you have to provide every accommodation that somebody, all the drill about ADA. But and he isn't disclosed, so it doesn't matter. It's an irrelevant.
Well, Peter, here's a question I think that a lot of people can't wait for you to answer. Now, assuming that Donald Trump became a self-made millionaire, which has been debated over the years, we know, but let's assume it's true. And if he is disabled, obviously it had nothing to do with anything.
Well, in fact, one of the things that the research is out there is that people with learning disabilities are especially or ADHD. Sorry, folks with ADHD are especially good entrepreneurs.
Wow.
They have that sort of drive, that character to be really good.
That's kind of like enigmatic. You would think it's like counterintuitive, right?
Well, no, it's not. I mean, I don't think it's counterintuitive. I have one of my stepkids was ADHD or is ADHD, and he's a big ideas guy.
Yeah.
And he may very well, once he graduates from technical school, start his business. And if he finds the right person to help him with detail, he might be very, very successful.
True.
He really might.
Yeah.
And so the research is out there that says folks with ADHD can really be good, entrepreneurs. That's where Thomas Edison had all kinds of problems.
True, and Tesla too, right? Tesla had a lot of issues.
Yeah, there are all kinds of people. So it would not shock me if it came out down the road that Donald Trump had some kind of learning disability or ADHD, and it fits his character.
It does.
It doesn't mean now my stepkid is a really nice, sweet kid who is totally opposite to Donald Trump.
Right.
So it has nothing to do with disability. It's just, you get my point, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, Peter, we have time for one more before we conclude. Well, Peter, thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you on. If you can give us the site one more time so that we could attempt to buy your book.
Yeah, thank you, Bob, for having me. And the web address, the URL is www.peteraltchul, PETERALT as in Tom, SCHUL.com. And check out my blog while you're at it. And if you want to be added to my mailing list, there is a spot in my site that says contact the author. Send me a note, and if that's what you want, I'll add you to my list.
All right.
Fantastic. Thanks for appearing on Branco Broadcast tonight. We'll have you back again real soon, hopefully.
I hope so, Bob. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Take care.
Bye-bye.